In an effort to create a game where the user can guess a point in a rectangle by typing in some coordinates of that point, so far we came up with this point type, which has an x and y coordinates to be defined to create an instance of that point, and also a false in rectangle method to check if the point, the instance of the point that was created, falls or not in that rectangle. And we were able to execute it like that. And this almost works. I mean, I can add a couple of more lines here to generate some user prompt with an input function and ask the user for some input, and also generate some random values for the rectangle, and the program is done. However, building this game is not the purpose of this course. My goal is not how to barely get some results out of your code, but to make you developers able to create good designs. So let us finally make a good design for this program. The point class is what we have so far. So the program, we are talking about a point in a rectangle. Therefore, it makes sense to create a rectangle object. Let's do that together. Class rectangle. And a colon, so don't forget to put a big capital letter there, just to be consistent with other programmers. Give a break line there and then define an underscore underscore init underscore underscore function, and then define a self. And for rectangles, what do we have? Well, we can define a rectangle with its lower left and its upper right corner. So these 2 points. Oh, did I say point? Yeah, so let low left be the name, be the variable that will hold the point type for the lower left point of the rectangle. So I'm talking about point type. This will be replaced by point type. And let's say upright. I'm just a bit tight of space here, so I'm just using short names. You can also write lower left or upper right, but please try to be consistent with me. And then let's create the attributes of the rectangle. The rectangle is self. Self is the variable that holds the rectangle object. So low left equals to that low left. And self up right equals up right. And that's it. We defined a rectangle type. Let me execute that and then create a new point object. Let me call that point x, why not? And I also have to create a rectangle object now. The rectangle x name will be referring to that object. So I'm referring to the rectangle type, just as I did with point. And then I have to give 2 values as input to that type. So 0.56, that will go to low left. As I told you, these are points now. So this is an object. And then the next object is 0.79. This will go to upright. Now, if I execute that and that, everything is all right. But let me check if point x falls in rectangle. So now you can see that we no longer have to write down all the tuples like that. We just need to say rectangle x. I press the tab and that gives me a list of available names that I can possibly pass in these brackets here. If I execute that, however, this is going to say that false in rectangle is missing one required positional argument, upright. And that's true because we only pass one name here, and that will go to low left. But upright also needs a value, so we didn't give it to that. The reason is we didn't update this false in rectangle to be in line with our new design. So let me go ahead and do that. This is what we do, false in rectangle. Well, in what rectangle? So let me just say rectangle there, and then rectangle low left. Let me split the line there so that it doesn't go away of the screen. We do the same thing for upright. So this will be replaced by the rectangle object, which has an low left and an upright attribute, as you can see here, low left, upright. And of course we can do the same thing in here. Split the line like that. Now if you go ahead and execute this right away, you're still going to get the same error. That is because, especially if you're using Jupyter, that is because here point X, which is the object instance, is still using the old definition of the type. Therefore, faults in rectangle is still having those two arguments, upright and low left. So what you need to do is you need to execute the cell of your point type, and then execute the cell where you create the instance of the point. You also need to create a rectangle object once again, and then try that. So I have a new error for you. I don't want to hide out these errors from you because you need to see the reality. You need to get familiar with errors too. So point object does not support indexing. Where? In here. Rectangle low left 0. So what's happening there is that this low left 0 is actually a point 560. So that object is being stored in this name. This name is referring to that object. And so if you do that, you basically get the same error. Point object does not support indexing, of course, because point is not a list, it's not a tuple. Tuples and lists, they support indexing and also strings. So if it was like that, you'd get the first item of the tuple. But this is a point, so we need to go once more, and since the low left is a point and points have an X, then we need to get X from there. And same from the upright point. And then index 1 was referring to the second item of the tuple, which is Y. So Y there and Y here. Execute it. Create the object instance again with a new definition of the point type. And this is the result. If you're still confused, please follow the next video, because I'm going to wrap everything up and you're going to understand all the possible gaps that you had.